Is there going to be a housing market recession? Is now really a good time to buy a home here in Fargo, North Dakota? These are the questions that are constantly flowing through people's head when they see the media, they see all the negative media over the housing market and how it's crashing. Interest rates fluctuate a lot depending on your credit score and depending on what type of loan you get. Because I mean, just look at this. For this one, the credit score is 740 or higher. But if we go on this graph, we see less than 680 credit, same exact loan, same exact 30-year conventional loan, it's exactly around 7%. But if we go back, we can see if you had a good credit score, 740 or higher, that can almost make your interest rates drop down over 0.5%. So you just got to realize how significant this is, that sometimes the mainstream media or the media, you hear all the news, they're going to say interest rates are, skyrocketing. But you can get great interest rates depending on your credit, of course, depending on how much you put down. Then there's also some great other programs that offer lower interest rates, like some different new construction homes and companies offer lower interest rates. Some first-time home buyer programs have lower interest rates. But you just need to know that sometimes the number that you see isn't the exact number. It all depends on someone's situation and what they're going through and what type of financial situation they have. You'll see that a lot as I talk through this video, that it's all dependent on you. There's no perfect time to buy a house. You'll talk to any real estate agent like myself. Sometimes they may say, well, the perfect time to buy is now. But honestly, there is no perfect time to buy a house. You just need to go buy a house when the situation is right for you and for your family and for your living situation. Now, if that means buying a house as soon as possible to get out of renting, or if that means waiting for those interest rates to drop or waiting for something else to happen, then that's what you should do. You should do what's best for your situation, and you need to evaluate your situation. From an article from the Fed on what they're doing with interest rates, some people may hear there's cuts coming in the future, and there's not cuts coming in the future. There's a lot of misconception on what's going on. Borrowers hoping for more financial relief from the Federal Reserve may have to wait on their hands, as the central bank is hit the pause button on additional rate cuts at its January 29th meeting. So this was just a little bit over a week ago. The Fed met and they decided they're going to wait on the cuts. But honestly, we do not know what's going to happen to interest rates. The Fed may say they're going to cut later in the year, but then they don't cut again. Because as we've heard the past couple of years, everybody says, oh, interest rates are dropping, interest rates are dropping. But they've been the same for a couple of years now. So that's what you need to know, that interest rates, obviously, they fluctuate, but you need to know there's a lot of different situations and a lot of different workarounds for that interest rate. And the thing is, you can always refinance when the interest rate is lower. That's what I'm going to talk about next. Let's say the situation is you're either thinking of buying right now, or you're going to wait until interest rates hit around 4, 5.5 to then buy. What will be the difference? So let's look at this graph here. Let's compare two scenarios. So let's say $350,000 house right now here in Fargo, North Dakota. That's around the average price point. Let's say interest rates right now, they're around 6.5%. So let's say you buy now at 6.5%. $350,000 house, same exact house, loan amount 20% down, a normal conventional loan. Your monthly payment will be around $1,900, almost $2,000. So let's say you want to wait 2 years until interest rates eventually get to 5%, if they even do get down to 5%. Then that same exact home is now $371,000. Your loan amount is now $334,000. Your monthly payment, it is lower, but is it really worth that much wait and that much less equity in your home to wait for that monthly payment? Because look at this, the monthly payment is $1,700, almost $1,800. That's almost a $200 difference you can see here from buying now and then waiting 2 years. And the thing is, you've built over $21,000 in equity in that home over 2 years. And you know what you can do? You can refinance. So you can still take advantage of that 5% rate, but you can still keep your home and keep your equity. So this is a thing a lot of people, I think, don't realize with homes. You can always buy now and refinance when the rate is lower, but you can't replace that home and you can't replace the equity, because you're going to gain $20,000 in equity in 2 years for a $200 change in monthly payment, when you could essentially change that payment anyways. So this is a thing I think a lot of people really take into account when they're thinking of interest rates, and they're thinking the interest rate stays with the home. Mortgage, you can change your mortgage and you can refinance anytime. You do have to pay closing costs when you do this, which is around 3% of the amount, but that's just something to keep in mind, that if those rates do eventually get down, if there eventually is a recession where those rates get super low, there's no houses being sold, you can always refinance your loan and always refinance your house to take advantage of those rates while still getting that equity increase in the house. Because essentially that's what it is. A house is an investment where you gain equity to make sure you still get that low interest rate, because you can just refinance later on. This is what we're seeing all over the news right now. I just did a simple Google search, real estate market news. And look at this, people also ask. So this is the things people are looking up, obviously. Are home prices dropping? Are real estate prices dropping? Should I buy a house now or wait for the recession? What's happening in the real estate world? So people think there's a recession coming, but ultimately, I can make a prediction about what's going to happen. A lot of people who are a lot smarter than me can make a prediction about what's going to happen, but ultimately, we don't know what's going to happen. People have been saying this will happen, interest rates are going to drop. They've been saying that for years. But look at interest rates. They're still in the 6s and the 7s. So we ultimately don't know what's going to happen. And that's why it's important to make sure sometimes take a look at obviously the mainstream media, but be smart when looking at the mainstream media to know the difference that in your personal situation, it may be better for you to move now instead of waiting for the recession. That's why it's very important to know the local news, which I'll get into in a little bit, the local news here in Fargo of what's actually going on in the real estate market. Looking at the numbers so you know when's the best time for you to buy a home. Fargo is a very unique real estate market. We have low inventory here. There's a lot of new homes being popped up. You know this already in West Fargo and South Fargo and Horace. So we need to know how to take advantage of this real estate market and what's going on and when's the best time for you to buy a home in here in Fargo. So this is the total number of active listings. For December of last year, there was 266, down 18%, but we can just look at the graph to see what does this trend do year over year. Because if there's more properties out there and you're looking at a property, more options can give you a better spot in negotiating. But one thing to note is also maybe if there's more properties, there's more people out looking. So people are in the same exact boat. It's always a give and take. There's never going to be a perfect market for you. There's never going to be a perfect market for someone else. There's always a give and take somewhere. We can see kind of how this graph flows. That's kind of rolling hills. These are obviously a little bit rough hills, but we can see over in the spring, summer months, that's when there's more properties on the market. But as you know, that's when there's more people moving too. That's where that give and take comes in. More properties available, more options for you, more people moving. So there's gonna be more competition. So you just gotta know that when you're moving to make sure you know what type of market it is and how you could take advantage of that market. This is the median days on market for the listings. This is a very important number to show how fast stuff is selling and essentially how many other people are moving at the same time and competing off for situations. So obviously being in the winter months, market's a little bit slower. December 2024, 91 days on market median. And we can see the same spike every single year in December, in January, in November. That's because there's not that many people moving during those times. Now this can also be a give and take, just like I talked about before. Not that many people moving. Maybe if you're moving during these times, you can get a better deal on a house because there's not that many other people moving and the sellers, they want to sell their house. But there may not be as many options available, so it's a give or take. So let's say you move in the spring. We can see the days on market hovers between 30 and 40. So in these situations, you don't have as much time to think. You don't have as much negotiating power. Now there's more properties available. You may be able to find a better property that you like better than compared to in the winter, but you may be competing on that property. You may not be getting a good deal on that property here in the summer and the spring months. That's why it's always a give and take, and there's no perfect time for you to buy a house. It's whenever your situation is right and whenever you feel comfortable to buy a house is when the right time is for you. The next graph, the new listings on the market. So this shows, again, you'll see through every single one of these graphs, you're gonna have more listings and more activity through the spring and summer months. Then during the winter, it's gonna drop off. Look at this, drop off every single year. Dropping off, dropping off, dropping off. Even this year too, dropping off. Now it's starting to skyrocket again. As we come to these spring months, more activity. And you just gotta realize how significant of a jump this is. 140% up January from December here in Fargo for the number of properties on the market. So obviously, a ton more options. But there's got to be more buyers starting to look now as we come to the spring and summer months. Then also, this one again, the sold listings here in January, 44 sold listings. Now look at this, up and down, rolling hills again. During the spring, during the summer, that's when all the properties are getting sold. That's when all the activity is happening. Then in the winters, it slows down. Not as much happening, not as much properties being sold. That's why the winter can be a great time to buy a house, because no one wants to move when it's snowing and blizzarding out. So you can get a better deal on a home. But also, there's not as many people who want to sell either, because a lot of the time, people need to buy and sell at the same time. So if it's a really, really good seller's market and you're selling your home, yep, maybe you can get over asking price on your home, but then you're gonna have to offer over asking price on the house you want to buy. So it's always a give and take. There's no one who really is always winning in the situation. It's always a give and take, and it's always a compromise, because there is essentially no perfect time to buy a home. There's so many different situations where buying a home is right now. Just giving a couple examples: death, divorce, new family members, babies, moving down, kids out of the house. There's so many situations where, you have to move or you need to move, and now is the right time to move because there's no other option. That's why it's so important to know your situations and just to know the market. So when you're in a buyer's market, you can take care of that and take advantage of that. And when you're in a seller's market, you can take advantage of that the right way. And you can have a compromise, yet you can still come out on top. That's why you need someone like me on your side, a real estate agent, who can help you and assist you through this transaction to make sure you get the most amount of money possible, while also making your move as smooth and efficient as possible. Now, if you're interested in making a move when the time is right for you, you can reach out to our Living in Fargo-Moorhead team through the phone number on the screen or by emailing us in the description below. And we can help you and make sure you make the move when the time is best for your situation.